John George Phillips had been a wireless operator for 6 years. He had worked on the Lusitania, the Mauretania, the Campania, some of the greatest ships ever built. But when he received his assignment to the RMS Titanic, he knew this was different. This was the ship everyone was talking about. Unsinkable, they called her. The largest moving object ever made by human hands. It was a cold morning in April when Phillips arrived in Southampton. He carried a small leather suitcase and a canvas bag containing his most prized possession, a set of high-quality headphones better than the standard Marconi issue. He had bought them himself. A wireless operator's ears were his livelihood, and Jack Phillips intended to hear everything. The dock was chaos. Hundreds of crew members moving in every direction. Stevedores loading mountains of luggage. First-class passengers stepping out of motor cars, dressed like they were attending a royal banquet. And there, rising above it all, was the Titanic, 4 city blocks long. 50 feet high at the boat's deck. Black hull, white superstructure, 4 yellow funnels so massive you could drive a train through them. Phillips stopped walking and just looked up. Everyone did. You could not. He made his way to the crew entrance, showed his papers, and stepped inside. The corridors alone were wider than entire rooms on other ships. Painted white, brightly lit, carpeted in places where third-class crew had no business expecting carpet. A steward directed him toward the working alleyways, the hidden arteries of the ship where passengers never went. Phillips walked past kitchens the size of warehouses, past storage rooms filled with wine and silver and fresh flowers, past the engine room casing where the heat hit you like a wall and the vibration ran up through your shoes. The Marconi room was on the boat deck just behind the officers' quarters. Small, yes, about 12 feet square, but to Phillips it was perfect. 2 desks, 2 chairs, racks of equipment, a spark gap transmitter that could send a signal 400 miles, and windows, real windows looking out onto the deck. Most wireless rooms were buried deep inside the ship. Here, he could see the ocean, he could see the sky. He unpacked his headphones, set them on the hook beside his desk and smiled. This would do. This would do just fine. The next 3 days were a blur of activity. Testing equipment. Synchronizing watches with the officers. Learning the ship's layout so he could find any room, any dining saloon, any passenger suite in under 3 minutes. Phillips explored everywhere. The first-class smoking room with its stained glass windows, the grand staircase with its ironwork and oak paneling, and that massive clock. The gymnasium where first-class ladies rode mechanical horses while wearing floor-length dresses. The squash court, the swimming pool. He never went in, of course. Crew didn't do that. But he looked. Everyone looked. On the morning of April 10th, Phillips stood at the window of the Marconi room and watched the last passengers board. A band played on the pier. Crowds waved handkerchiefs. Tugboats nudged the massive hull away from the dock. Phillips adjusted his headphones, checked his equipment one final time, and waited for the first messages to come in. He had no idea that in 4 days, the entire world would know his name. That his final transmission would be studied, debated, memorialized for 100 years and more. He was just a young man from Godalming doing his job on the most beautiful ship he had ever seen. At noon, the Titanic's whistles blew. So loud you could feel them in your bones. Phillips felt the vibration through the floor, through his chair, through the very air around him. The ship was moving. He tapped his telegraph key once, twice, testing. Then he sat back, listened to the crackle of static, and began his first watch at sea.